Coming to you from the last video store in the universe, it's Binge Movies, episode 167. I'm Jason. This is... I don't know why I said that so erotic. This is the show that ranks and eliminates movies to determine which ones are most worthy of preservation for all time, even beyond the end times. On this episode, we rank the top grossing films of 2004, 5 through 1. I'm here with a guy. Talk about The Passion of the Christ, The Incredible, Spider-Man 2, Harry Potter, Prisoner of Azkaban, Shrek 2. Long-term listeners of the show know, I've already talked about all of these movies. But the patron said they wanted me to cover top grossing films of 2000, so I'm going to. And Paul said he wanted to talk about good movies. So here we go.
Yay!
Paul, this is your first time back since you ruined the vault. How are you feeling about your life?
Hey, look, I'm not sure I ruined the vault. I'm so pleased to finally have a film in there after 7 years of guesting on this show. Finally,
Exhibit A
has been seen, and I couldn't pick. I'm sure I could have picked a lot of better films to make the vault, but I'll take what I can get. And I'd like to thank Pete for his stellar job. I'd like to thank Julio for throwing up an equally questionable film. And I'd like to acknowledge all the Lord of the Rings fans out there who are hurting now as we speak because their beloved Return of the King has been eliminated from history and they can only watch the end of The Two Towers.
That's it. Story doesn't even end. Okay. Exhibit A, you said, hey, how come you don't ever have me on and talk about good movies, Jason?
That's right. That's
no
right.
wonder no movie I've ever selected is entered the vault. I wonder why, because you always have me talking about this shit. Okay. Mm-hmm. So on that episode, when you complained, I said, you're right. I should let you talk about good movies. I offered you Fellini. I offered you Truffaut.
No,
I offered you...
I passed.
La Grande Illusion. I offered you Alfred Hitchcock. I offered you the Criterion Collection. And you said, no, you got to go find somebody else.
Yeah.
Somebody who that's
find
more
someone who'll do it
for.
decent.
Yep. So I got Molly Raspberry from Film Twitter, which probably doesn't even exist by the time this comes out. And she did it. She did a knockout job with encyclopedic knowledge because you said, Kurosawa, I never heard of him. So that's
I did not say that. That's a slight exaggeration.
Exhibit B, you said, Jason, you and I both know there are no Hellraisers have a chance in hell of making it to the end and being put into the vault.
I did say that.
Nobody in their right mind would ever select these. You're like, it doesn't matter which one I choose, they're not going to be selected. And so I'm just going to choose the one I like, which is Hellraiser 3, because I was 14 and I saw the girl from...
And I like Terry Farrell.
Spin City or whatever. I saw the girl from Becker in Babylon 5.
And I like the Cenobites walking down the street, destroying it with explosions just because that's exactly what Clive Barker intended.
Desecrating a holy altar in a church. There's blasphemies. There's many, many blasphemies. And
I like the guy with CDs coming out of his face.
And now we have a blasphemy in the vault. You have desecrated the altar that is the vault. It's going to be preserved for all time, even beyond.
Would be lying if I didn't say in my almost 10 years of podcasting, if this wasn't one of my top 3 moments, maybe number 1 in that whole era. I was so happy, and I even forgot to go over into your Patreon and vote there, where I would have got 2 votes extra. So you can't. Didn't even need me to gerrymander.
1 vote per person. You can check the rules. 1 vote per location.
Well, in that case, I need to stop voting on Twitter.
You only vote in the patron place. If you're on social media only social media. If you're elite patron, you only vote there.
Okay.
Now either way,
I should have voted.
Gerrymandering.
Didn't need it. We won.
Didn't need it. You're ethical on accident. All right. Well, it's time to get to a movie about a man who knows something about ethics, and maybe you could learn a little something from him. We're talking about The Passion of the Christ.
Woo!
Which currently has only a 49% Rotten Tomatoes. Seems odd. Paul, I told you that you were going to pray, and whatever you prayed for, it wasn't going to be answered.
And I said that your suffering would be legendary even now. We're talking about Ghoulies, motherfucker.
7% on Rotten Tomatoes.
High.
Directed by an Italian, because you should have put 2019 in. Instead, you're getting Luca Barovici, who also wrote these shits, and Jeffrey Levy. It's got the triumphant return of absolutely fucking nobody, because none of these people ever did anything in their lives, except for one of them. The only other thing that he ever did was one more of these.
Yep.
This thing was released January 18th, 1985, on a budget of, hold your horses, Paul, $5.5 million. Actually, I don't know if that's
1984
right.
money.
No, that's Passion of the Christ money. I got that all fucked up. The box office was $35 million. There's no chance Ghoulies made $35 million. There's no chance it cost $5 million. Anyway, let me read my synopsis here. A son, following in his father's footsteps, is led into temptation by Satan and must resist the devil's works to save the world.
The son of a satanic priest summons the Ghoulies because he can, only to sideline them in a movie bearing their name.
You didn't understand it, Paul. The synopsis I gave could have worked for either The Passion of the Christ
or
Ghoulies.
They'll get you in the end.
Whoa, clever.
Is Jonathan Graves a Christ figure?
I think the jig is up, Jason. Once again, I'm back here. I'm doing a terrible series of films.
That's what
all
you
that
get.
bit earlier on.
Collection? Oh, no. I had to find somebody else. Give me a movie that's at my level. Well, this is what's at your level. Ghoulies. 1 through 4, fucker.
To be honest, I think all 4 of the Ghoulies films clock in at the same time as a Francois Truffaut film, so I'm winning? I don't know.
No, you're a loser. You're losing. And of the top 3 moments in podcasting for your life, that was you looking me over and getting that. This is the number 1 moment in my life in podcasting. It is you having to talk about the Ghoulie movies. Okay. Now,
well, like anything, we'll throw ourselves in.
let's go right into the history of Ghoulies. Historically, Ghoulies is talked about as being a Gremlins ripoff.
Yep. Gremlins adjacent.
But historically, it's not actually true because they were actually in production at the same time. Ghoulies was not written with any foreknowledge of Gremlins. But when Warner Brothers found out that there was a movie that was going to sound kind of similar, but like devilish creatures, and we'll get to it, that's not actually what the first Ghoulies is actually about, which makes you wonder why they even called it Ghoulies at all, but that's whatever. Warner Brothers fought a lawsuit over the name and tried to get the production stopped to try to get them to take the name off of it. And it was thrown out because once they realized, well, just because there's a G in it, there's no basis for this lawsuit. So it ended up being put out. The creatures were designed by our favorite, John Carl Buechler, the late great, I guess. He's definitely late. I'm not sure if he was great. Director of Friday the 13th, Part 7, The New Blood. That's the one with the psychic girl that they wanted Federico Fellini to direct. Paul, you listening?
Yeah. I'm trying to get my head around that particular
John
fact. Okay.
Carol Buechler designed the Ghoulies. He didn't direct the movie. He designed the Ghoulies because he was a special effects guy. And
he wanted who to direct?
He directed Friday the 13th Part 7, which was Jason versus the Psychic Girl.
The New Blood.
The head of Paramount Pictures at the time didn't want John Carol Buechler to direct Friday. She wanted to produce an Oscar
That's
level
right. We
film.
talked about it. Yeah.
We talked about it, and she wanted Federico Fellini to director of Armored, which you could have talked about earlier this season, but you chose not to. You chose not to talk about a Fellini film. Instead, you're talking about the guy who replaced Fellini on Friday the 13th Part 7's Creatures in a Luco Barakovici
Directorial
film.
debut.
Yeah. Grand opening, grand closing, I would guess. Let me ask
He's actually an actor. He's an actor. He was in Drop Zone. He was in Pacific Heights. He had
Ooh,
bit
Drop
roles in those.
Zone.
Yeah.
Nice. What do you think Jane Mansfield would think of her daughter starring in a movie called Ghoulies? Do you know who
Probably not
Jane
much.
Mansfield's daughter is?
Yeah, like a golden age of Hollywood star,
big breasted woman from the old times. Just like you
didn't
like
realize
milkers.
Exactly. Don't put that evil on me.
There's nothing
not
wrong
realize.
with milkers. There's nothing evil about loving a good busty woman or man.
True, if that's your thing, then more power to you. I think she would not be overly pleased. I don't think she would be overly pleased with her daughter. Yeah, she's the girlfriend, right?
No, her daughter is Mariska Hargitay. Do you know who Mariska is?
Donna.
Yeah. Do you have Law and Order Sexual Victims Unit?
Yeah, we do
Special
have it here. I
Victims
believe the longest running TV show in history, right? Other than any daytime soap.
I think so. Now it has to be, right? It has to be longer than Gunsmoke. Yeah, maybe The Simpsons might beat it. She's kind of a legend in American TV at this point.
I didn't even recognize her. Huh.
Yeah. Okay. She's been on TV for so long, and that's is Olivia Benson. She now basically directs most of those episodes, produces the entire series. And not only is it first run on NBC, but it is constantly, because it's in syndication, it is constantly on TNT, TBS, USA. All they do is run, there's about 40 stations, and all they do is run Law and Order SVU marathons. And so Mariska Hargitay is on our television 24/7 in the States. What's that Australian soap that everybody that's ever worked in Australia was on? Peyton Place? What was it called?
Neighbours or Home and Away?
Neighbours. That's it. Neighbours. Yeah. That's basically our Neighbours now. Everybody's been on a Law and Order, and most people have been on Law and Order SVU, and the one constant has been Mariska.
So she's carved out an amazingly successful.
Yes.
Probably got her $1 trillion
in Ghoulies.
I don't even know which one she was, because the characters are so well drawn in this film.
She wasn't the main girl. Ghoulie. No, she wasn't a ghoulie. She was a girly. Okay, well, let's walk through some of this logic here, bud. A satanic cult leader. Okay. A satanic cult leader is about to sacrifice his baby son to Satan. When the mother arrives and places an amulet of protection on the baby, did the mom not know that the baby daddy was a Satanist?
Presumably.
At what point in the conjuring of the devil himself was she like, this is too much? When it only involved her child? Had it been somebody else's child being sacrificed, would she have given a shit?
No.
So she wasn't. She wasn't anti-Satan. She was just pro-baby.
Pro-her baby.
Pro-her baby.
Yes.
You feed another baby to the devil, who cares?
Whatever. Then all the power comes to me.
If it's your baby's adrenochrome, you have to preserve it for yourself. Okay. The mom then gives Jonathan to Wolfgang. Wolfgang is in a robe and is part of the cult, or he was undercover as part of the cult?
Don't know. But the fact that he then decides to raise this boy as his own.
We're going to get there. Yes, he raises the boy as his own, right?
But Jonathan, not Jonathan, what's the kid's name? I forget.
Jonathan.
Jonathan. Jonathan never refers to him in any way other than being, he's the caretaker around here. Yeah,
there's no closeness in their relationship whatsoever, but it would seem as if he was his Alfred, right? Like this is the guy that raised him after his parents died. And now he's inherited this spooky mansion. We'll get to that Wolfgang logic here in a second. Jonathan turns 18 years old and inherits his late father's spooky mansion. Wolfgang, as we said, was the guardian. Did he fail at his one job, Paul? Because Wolfgang was supposed to raise the boy and be his protector against this cult shit, this Satanist shit. He lets the boy inherit the house, never thought to get rid of any of these demonic incantation books, Necronomicons and whatnot, flesh mongering or whatever,
He did not remove temptation to come
He
back
didn't
to
empty the library of Satan's goodies.
Yeah, because if he's been the caretaker all along, and Jonathan went away presumably to college or to do whatever he was doing,
Empty the house out. Get all the Satan shit out of the house. Burn it.
Yep. No film then.
Then all the kids inheriting is a fucking mansion.
And maybe can fix it up and sell it at a nice price, and everyone's winning.
Correct.
But no,
everybody's peachy king. So Wolfgang, he did his job, but he just didn't finish it. He didn't finish well.
Well, and he also clearly, as you said,
Wolfie
did not bother to form a good connection, because Jonathan at no point displays any warmth towards him or says, this is basically my dad. He raised me. Yeah. He's not really my dad, but he's my dad, my stepfather, and what an awesome bloke.
He's like, don't be afraid of this creepy old man. He just is my caretaker. He's a groundskeeper.
He just works here. Yeah.
Yeah.
Good bloke. It's a good bloke, but he's fine.
Yeah. What is Jonathan's motivation to begin his dabbling in black magic?
Oh, look,
he just immediately is like, let's summon Satan.
I think the film's trying to tell you that the evil of his father is in him.
It's like in his blood.
It's calling to him. He's kind of goes along almost like an automaton. He's not really consciously making these choices. It's all subconsciously pulling him in and through. But it does a shit-ass job.
Automaton, an Australian way of saying automaton?
Maybe. Or maybe it's just my bad way of saying it.
How do you say
automatic?
How do you say aluminum?
Aluminium.
Seriously, sounds like sci-fi. But I know it. But that's the British way of saying it. To an American ear, because we're dumb, it sounds like science fiction when you speak, Paul. Aluminium. Initiate the aluminium contingency. It's like aluminium.
Yeah, I think that's what the film's trying to do.
How do you say oregano?
I don't know. What's that?
Oregano.
Spice?
You say oregano?
Oregano. Yeah, I think we say oregano.
We say oregano.
How do you say pecan?
Either pecan or pecan.
Pecan is how I heard it from Americans. Yep.
Yeah.
We could play this game all day. You know why? Because it's better than Ghoulies.
On that way, we switch back and forth. Same thing with caramel or caramel. We'll switch back and forth.
Caramel.
Yeah.
Definitively.
What are the little people for? I don't mean in existence. I mean in the movie.
Cancel Binge Movies. That's been great knowing you all. Thanks very much.
No, I said I don't mean in existence. I'm not saying short people have no reason to live. That's Randy Newman. I'm saying Grizzle and Greedy Gut. You ever heard that song?
No. What's his song?
Randy Newman has a song called Short People Have No Reason to Live.
Good on you,
Short
Randy. No,
people have no reason to live.
I think you're making that up because I don't.
Do you have a computer in front of you? Google Randy Newman, short people have no reason to live.
I'm doing it now. Vamp.
Insert clip here.
It is from his 1977 album, Little Criminals.
Little criminals like Grizzle and Greedy Gut. Why? What is their purpose in this film?
I'll go further than that, Jason. And I'm now going to talk metally about the whole series.
No. I want you to say
by the end of the series, we've given up. We've just given up on ghoulies. We just have these little people, little whatever they are. Are they
They're
demons?
not ghoulies. They're not ghoulies.
No, they're like
no
ghoulie adjacent.
Yeah. They're Grizzle and Greedy Gut. Okay.
Yeah, it's very strange. I think the whole thing's very strange. We then set up a bunch of shitty characters.
In a movie called Ghoulies, not a lot of ghoulies.
No. When
they do
like I said in my
show up,
synopsis.
When Jonathan summons them out of the garden, and it doesn't seem like he knows that what he's going to be summoning is these like little impyish creatures. They just show up. Most of what they do in this first film is the camera will just like pan away from supernatural Satan happenings from either his dad's resurrected corpse, which that's spoilers, but or the little people or something Jonathan's doing, right? Because he's like starts to become possessed, and so like or some kind of spooky shit is happening and murder and whatnot and witchcraft, and then the camera will just pan over and the ghoulies will be like laughing, and that's all their role is in this first film. And I don't really understand that, and I don't understand why after this first film they decided to make a series of films around the ghoulies, and they're never, other than one of the films, they're never really a big part of what the story is. Why not write a script for a movie called Ghoulies where the ghoulies are the antagonists?
Look, you are asking all the questions that are in my notes, Jason. I wish I had answers for you. I wish I could believe that it was $35 million parted with in 1984 money to see this piece of shit. I watched this as a kid. I watched this as a 9 or a 10-year-old.
Okay, I've seen it. I saw it many years ago too. When you were a child, did you remember? Like now that you're a grown man in his 60s, did you remember? Did you remember that there are
offensive,
no ghoulies?
But okay.
It's really offensive about being in your 60s.
When you're in your 40s, but sure.
Oh, I'm sorry. Did you remember when you fired this up that the ghoulies aren't in the movie?
No. Not at all. I fully expected to watch a movie that was about these little things running around killing people, which happens for about 6 minutes, and you don't see blood or anything. It's the shittest horror movie not ever made, because we've done those on the show. But it's really, really bad. I could not believe how bad this script was. It's one setting house. They keep the production down low. They don't hire the best actors in the world, other than, of course, Mariska Hargitay, who must have been one of the two hot, because I couldn't believe how hot all the friends were, the female friends were, but of course they are, because it's a horror movie.
Yeah.
And then we get an extended 2-minute sequence. I timed this shit of a guy dancing at this party.
Yes. And
in the end doing sort of circles on the floor, Homer Simpson styles from this, who I'm sure ripped that off. From
the Three Stooges. Which the Three Stooges stuff will come back.
Oh, they did that. It's just so stupid. And
there's this weird through line of like old timey, like the Three Stooges, like references. Art Carney. There's a guy who just is doing a Honeymooners reference, but he's only doing the Art Carney portion of it, like the electricians or whatever. I think in 2, or it might be 3, where it's just a dude walking on the street and he's dressed and talking like Art Carney from the Honeymooners. There's no explanation. You never see him again. There's no explanation. And so it's like, I don't understand what this is. There are...
Be prepared for that statement to happen a lot more in the next hour or so.
This movie in particular feels largely unwritten.
Yeah. They had one idea. Let's make a horror movie.
A sincere question. What was on the page when the actors got to the set? When they looked at their script, what was in there? Was it just a lot of like stage direction and not a lot of dialogue? Because there's not even the dialogue. It feels kind of improv. It feels very loose. Like they're kind of figuring out what the plot is as they're making the movie. Is the plot Jonathan's being possessed? Is the plot that his evil father is going to be raised from the dead? Does Jonathan need to die? Why does he need to die? What does killing him do? His dad already sacrificed the mom's heart. What are the ghoulies? What did they accomplish? What are the little people? Who are they? Who are they working for? We know they're like
none of it makes any sense. The little people by the end of the film are working against the dad when he comes back from the dead. They actively try to save Jonathan.
Yeah. Because they pledge their allegiance to Jonathan, but they're actually setting him up to perform a ritual that will resurrect his father. But then once the father's resurrected, by that point, they've learned to appreciate how Jonathan treats them. But
I don't know. He doesn't treat him particularly well.
But he doesn't treat him well because the first test to test their loyalty is like, you drink this. If you're not truly loyal to me, you'll burst into flames and burn in hell forever. So he tells them. He laughs at them. And poor Jonathan, the green glowy contacts they put in this guy's eyes got all wonky and wandered around like HBK real quick, man. His eyeballs are going in 2 different directions throughout most of this movie because these are those 80s super thick contacts too, Paul. They looked painful just looking at his face. It was crazy.
Yeah, look, there's nothing redeemable about this film whatsoever, really, at the end of the day. I wish I could find something that I enjoyed. I didn't enjoy any aspect of this, from the fact that, in my memory, these ghoulies run around killing people, and, it's a little bit... I knew it was a bit slapstick, custard pie, silly.
Yeah.
That was fine. I was expecting that tone to come into play. But what I wasn't expecting was A, for them to be sidelined, B, for the little people to come out and almost take center stage for a period of the film, and C, like the lack of any degree of tension, scares, or it's not even funny. That slapstick custard pie, Three Stooges stuff, it's just not funny. I understand how it got made because I was trying to cash in on the horror sort of boom we've talked all about. It's not a slasher film, but it's a bunch of people isolated in an environment being picked off one by one. But even that portion of the film is like 10 minutes long. We were 53 minutes in, and the only death had been the mama off screen. It's just all this setup.
It's just a lot of standing around.
Yeah.
It's just a lot of people going, who's going to get the ice for the party? Well, I think Craig's going to get the ice for the party. They go to this party.
And then seemingly halfway through the party, what are we going to do now? Everyone else has gone home. I know. Let's do a seance. Oh, that's a great idea. Everyone's like, yeah, woohoo. Oh, no, we'll do better than that. We'll do a ritual. Ooh, yeah, great idea.
I just, and the thing is like, we've not seen this guy do any necromancy up to this point, but he looks at the table at the party, and there just so happens to be the Necronomicon just sitting there. He's like, oh, I'll just read this incantation. This looks good. Yeah.
Evil Dead have been out by long enough at this point in time. People should know better.
Okay, here's the thing, Paul. Okay, I'm kind of beating a dead horse here, but allow me to. There's a version of this Ghoulies movie. Like, you take the basic concept: boy or girl, whoever, inherits a house from an estranged father. My father was a strange man. My mother told me, you have to rewrite a little bit, but my mother told me I could never really be around him, that he was a strange man, that he was in dark things. But my mom has passed in the intervening years. I'm now an adult, and some attorney has found me once I turned 18 and or however old I'm in college, and says, you've inherited this house. It's your father's house. You've inherited all of its assets. And so the kid shows up with his girlfriend and his friends to clean the house up, right? To try to maybe get on the market, sell it, see what it is. Is it worth anything? And hey, it's the 80s. Since we're here, Jonathan, why don't we have a rager, bro? This is a big house. We get some kegs, some brewskis, and fight some big titty girls over. You know, we have them bring their bikinis over. Whoa, we'll have boom boxes. We'll have a pool party, right? Like typical 80s schlock, right? And then somewhere along the line, they find this spooky basement, and there's all kind of weird books and shit down there. And there's like a weird little altar kind of thing. And then sitting right there is an open book. And it doesn't even have to be the main kid, but somebody's like, what's this say? And they just read it. And all of a sudden stuff starts bubbling around outside where the kids can't see it.
Yeah. That's in called the garden. Evil Dead.
Well, hang on. In the garden. And they're like, things start bubbling and bubble, toil and trouble. And these little creatures start popping up, but they're unaware because they're in the basement and this stuff is happening out in the garden. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So in the in-between time, to the ghoulies having been manifested, everybody starts showing up for the party. And they completely forget about the spooky witchcraft basement, and they go back upstairs, and everybody's enjoying the party. And then the ghoulies attack the party and wreak havoc. And it's a survival film where there's hijinks and dark comedy and brutal deaths that are kind of funny. And yeah, it's Evil Dead 2, but it's
sign me up.
Something, right? Like, there's a version of that where you're like, it's not great, but for like a low budget B movie, it's kind of funny. It's kind of clever. Some creative depth.
It'll do. Right. It's like they kind of set that up, and then they couldn't decide whether or not even though it's called Ghoulies, if the Ghoulies are the point of the movie or this guy's dad is the point of the movie. 100%.
And then in between, they wrote no characters, no motivations. It's not scary or funny. It's not even entertaining by accident. There's no intentional or unintentional relationship to Gremlins whatsoever. The only person who brings anything to this movie, and it's very little because he's in it very little, is when Michael Philip DeBear, who by the way is the 26th Marquis DeBear, he shows up and that's in real life. He shows up as Malcolm Graves, the dad, and he's completely hamming it up in the zombie form.
Even in the start of the movie, he's completely hamming up. He's in a whole different film in that first scene.
Yes. But by the time he shows up at the end, I'm so desperate for anything to happen that I enjoyed his he's like, oh, I know you're my son, and maybe I should have mercy on you, but I don't think I will. I'll send you to hell forever. And he's laughing, and it's kind of comical because he seems like he knows he knows that his performance is over the top, so it is what it is.
How about this immortal line? Kiss me, my son. Kiss me, I will drain the life from you.
yes.
What?
That's the sort of weird energy and shit he brings this movie that the movie needed more of, quite frankly.
Yeah, well, I don't disagree. It needed something, and I'd take more of him or at least being the antagonist the whole way through the film. And he's ordering the ghoulies to kill. I mean, he does. He orders the ghoulies to kill people, and they do a really stupid, shitty job of it. Yeah. There's not just the the little people, almost.
Yeah.
It's the clown thing, which they've just stolen straight from Poltergeist. Suddenly, but
there's a ghoulie in the clown.
Clown the whole time. Like, that's weird. So we obviously jettison that for the remaining films. Seems like there was more than one of the green ghoulie at times. There was a bunch of them in the water, so that was also very confusing. The film doesn't make that clear at all. If we go back a little bit,
it seemed as almost the green one. It seemed as if almost the boss, and that all of it seemed like to me that the original design was that they were all going to look like that, right? That's why there's probably so many of those puppets. And then they were like, well, then it's too much like Gremlins. And so they made like a rat one and a cat one and a bat one.
That follows.
Yeah.
I thought the bit when if you're in a basement somewhere, even though you realize you're into black magic or dark magic now, and lightning starts striking the ground around you in a basement, I reckon that's the time you check out. That's the time where you go, probably not, I shouldn't be doing this.
It was not supposed to be funny, I don't think, but it made me laugh. Is round about that time when his girlfriend comes down the stairs and he's in full Satanist regalia. Lightning bolts are striking down around him. He's got like a trident from hell where he's like, give me like Kalima, give me the power I beg of you. I just mixed Temple of Doom and Child's Play. But and she's like, Jonathan, what are you doing down here? Why are you dressed like that? He's like, nothing. I'm just hanging out. And she's like,
you.
Yeah, she's like, whatever it is you're doing down here, I'll just leave you to it. You know, you don't have a job. You spend all your time in the basement. You won't even come up and eat dinner that I made for you. It's like, that's your concern. Your concern is this fucker won't come to the dinner table. He's opening a gate to hell in your basement. I laughed so hard. So stupid. 2 out of 10, number 4. Not the worst one. There's one worse than this.
I agree. 100% on both the things you just said. In fact, 90% of what you just said, because I gave this 1.8 out of 10.
Okay, there we go. All right. Moving along to, I'm not even going to bear the lead. The Ghoulie series may be the only horror series in horror history that gets higher Rotten Tomatoes percentages the further it goes along. So, because normally it is declining returns. Decline. Maybe this is
when you start at the basement.
Yeah, slightly increasing returns with 1988's Ghoulies 2, which currently has a 13% on Rotten Tomatoes.
The carnival's back in town with all your old favorites. The Ferris wheel, the Roundup, the octopus, beautiful girls, the spook house, bumper cars, and a special added attraction. It's got ghoulies too. They walk, they talk, they crawl on their bellies like
reptiles. This place is better than Epcot Center.
Ghoulies 2.
Ghoulies 2 was directed by Albert Band, brother of Charles Band. It was written by Dennis Paoli and Charlie Dolan. It's a triumphant return of Phil Fandacaro, who is in Hellraiser Bloodline. He's the other little person. This film series loves little people. It is the triumphant return of Royal Dano. Royal Dano was Gramps from House 2 and was a famous Western actor. And then by the 80s was just doing nothing but this slop.
Did recognize him, and I also recognize the little person in this film too from Willow.
Yes, yep. The film was released October 5th, 1988, and a budget of not available. It made not available. A drunk carny sideshow spook house is about to go belly up until the ghoulies arrive.
The ghoulies cause mayhem at a traveling carnival as they ascend to being front and center in this franchise.
In their own franchise. Okay. I got a pitch for you.
Please.
Have you seen either the American version? For all I know, there's an Australian version. There's certainly a British version, the original version. Not Hell's Kitchen, not Hotel Hell. Kitchen Nightmares with Gordon Ramsay.
No, but I know of it.
There's a struggling business with delusional owners who don't know what they're doing. Either they don't know how to run a business or they don't know how to cook. Gordon goes in. The British one was actually like a semi-legitimate show where it seemed like he was actually trying to help people, and then it got to America and it got all reality TVized. Ghoulies version of that, where the movie should have been somebody has a struggling business of some sort, a carnival, a faith healing tent, a roadside stand with some kind of produce, some kind of haunted house. You know, I guess that's what this one is. Trying to think of what else it could be. Whatever. Well, it could be a restaurant for that matter. And it's a Australian business. And instead of sending Gordon Ramsay in, you send the ghoulies in to see if they can turn business around. What do you think? A show based on the ghoulies trying to save people's businesses. Yes.
Interesting.
Right.
Interesting.
But you do it. No, hang on. You do it Muppet style, where you never address the fact that the ghoulies are puppets.
Muppets.
Yeah. You make the owners of these failing businesses talk directly to the ghoulies. And you only allow them to talk, the ghoulies, to them in character, and you never break. Never.
I am not sure that would have legs.
Ghoulies for you.
It's ghoulies for you.
We call it ghoulies for you. Are you a psychiatrist with a struggling practice? Let the ghoulies come in and run some of your sessions for you.
Ghoulies night. No, that wouldn't work. Ghoulies nightmares give you the wrong impression. But okay, right, sure. That's probably more interesting than anything in this film series. I'll give you that.
When I think of ghoulies, I think of this movie. This is the one that stateside was on TV the most, and this is the one I've seen the most. And even as a kid, this one scared me as a kid. It creeped me out.
Okay.
I was a little kid, but it creeped me out. If this one gave me the willies, which is another series.
Shit. Next thing I'll be mentioning spookies. Shit. Look, this one, and it's all relative. Good binges out there. It's all relative, but this one at least has some form of
a horror movie.
Yeah, it's trying to do what you would have thought the first one did. You know, the ghoulies are loose. They're not nice. They're killing people whenever they can. They're savvy enough to know they can't just kill everyone that walks past them because they'll get captured, but they try, or caught / whatever, but they try and take people out where they can. So that idea of going into a what do you call it? Ghost house.
Spook house, ghost house. Yeah.
Spook house. And then, you know, sometimes people don't come out. The idea, obviously, that's been done in multiple other horror movies before and since, probably.
Yeah.
But that's got some legs. I didn't mind that part of it. Everything else around it's probably what you expect budget, but at least there's a little bit of characterization going on now. A little bit. They get the evil corporate guy, and you get the I guess the hero, if I can call him that. There's not much to him, and his love interest is even less to her, apart from a trauma that she went through where she had to, what was it? Tightrope walk across something or other, or fell and whatever.
And she
else.
ended up being afraid of heights, but she's a tightrope walker, so you don't serve much of a purpose of the carnival if you can't do your gimmick. Yeah,
yeah. Which of course means that at some point in this film she'll have to confront her fear.
Oh, no, hang on a second. So when it finally comes back around, and she's like, "Well, nobody can get across there," and she's like, "That's not true.
I'll do it.
I can do it. I'll have to." And she says like something to the effect out loud of, "I'll have to get over my fear of heights." It's like, oh my God. There's no fucking subtlety in this. We understood this was your character arc. You didn't need to tell us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And as you said, then the uncle who's a drunk and he sees them and thinks they're hallucination until they kill him. And as you said,
which is really okay. This Uncle Royal Dano. This isn't like Buck Flower, who's like crazy drunk drivers.
It's a bit more over the
This
top than that.
man is presented as a deeply ill person.
Yes.
Even Phil, I don't remember his character's name in this. The great whatever, the actor, the Shakespearean actor. What is his name? The great Sir Ellington or something like that.
You mean the little person?
Yeah, his Sir.
Yeah, I think his name's Nigel.
Sir Nigel. So when Sir Nigel, because the nephew or whatever he is, starts like screaming.
He's a nephew.
Like, look at you done, you old drunk. Look at you dead. And it's like, gets real heavy. And you're like, oh man. And he's like, let him alone. He's sick. Don't you understand? We need to get him some help. I'm thinking, we're playing this man's alcoholism a lot for like comedy in this movie. And then even afterwards, it's like, he's like, oh, there's the DTs. It's like, what we're led to believe is that he's dying from alcoholism.
Mm-hmm.
This is like Nightmare Alley shit where this guy's about to drink turpentine. Like this guy he's going to drink wood grain alcohol and fucking kill himself under the Ferris wheel. And It's an odd inclusion in a horror comedy. Don't you think tonally?
It is. It didn't need to. I didn't
they
really
want us
think
to
about
laugh
while watching
at him,
it.
but they also want us to feel sorry for him. And you can't do both.
I didn't feel sorry for him at all. I was just doing the whole, this is awkward, cringe humor.
But when they kill him, it's like, well, the alcohol finally got him. It's like, he slashed to ribbons. So it must have been an accident. It's like, what kind of accident? This guy having his tent by himself.
There's so many ridiculous. Look, again, I'm not praising this film. It's not a good film. It's just better than the one we had before.
It's considerably better.
And arguably, it reaches its zenith when the ghoulies go, oh, we're discovered, and just go on a rampage through the carnival.
And everybody's so freaking. That's what a ghoulies movie should be, right?
Yes. What the clown dude in the tank gets his arm bitten off by the green one, and I think it might be the green one again. He undoes some safety screws on whatever ride it is, and then I was rolling around laughing at this moment. When the couple who are in this ride, whatever it is, are flung over the back of a big sign and there's an explosion. Why does a cart explode?
No clue.
Oh, geez, that was funny.
You keep saying the green one.
Hell for leather.
You keep saying the green one. Let me ask you this question. Can you name the ghoulies?
No.
Can't name a single one?
No, green one, bat dude, and rat dude.
These are their official names. Are you ready?
Okay, no, I did not know this.
The green one, who is known as the de facto leader, who appears to be a green imp of some sort, is known as Fish Ghoulie.
Right. Fish
Ghoulie.
Okay.
And Fish Ghoulie was made famous because when they made the first Ghoulies, they had to sell the movie. And so they came up with this poster of him coming out of the toilet.
That's the best thing. The tagline is, they'll get you in the end. That is the funniest part of the whole first film.
You're right. Now, wait. There was no scene of any ghoulie coming out of a toilet in the toilet.
Movie. Exactly. Yes.
We say, well, if it's on the poster, we need to do a reshoot, and he needs to come out. It was just a marketing idea that they had. How do we sell this movie? Shit. And it's like, well, what if it's coming up out of a toilet? And then it's like, well, then we need a tagline. They'll get you in the end, right? Yeah. And so then they're like, well, shit, but there's nothing like that happens in the movie. So they ended up going back and putting a toilet scene in the movie and whatever. And that ends up becoming the ghoulies' claim to fame is various
the iconic element, out of well, at least this film and the next film. It's all about the toilets.
It's all about toilets. Okay, so then he ends up, and then he functions as basically the leader in at least like 3 of these. There's Rat Ghoulie. That's the one that looks kind of like a rat, and
so I did know Rat Ghoulie's
horns. Yeah. Yep. Then there's Cat Ghoulie.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and he does the most talking when they start talking to the third one. He's like,
hold on. Let's just wait for that, please.
Then there's Flying Ghoulie, which I've always thought Flying Ghoulie was terrible. It's like a flying squirrel or something, right? It's horrible. Has no legs. Those are the Ghoulies Majora. Then there's Ghoulies Minora. Okay, they're the lesser Ghoulies. The Ghoulies Minora are Clown Doll Ghoulie, who only makes one appearance in the first Ghoulies. Mm-hmm. Monkey Ghoulie, who only shows up in the first. Why no more Monkey Ghoulie, Paul?
I'll tell you why there's no more clown
Give
ghoulie.
us this
'Cause
franchise.
He broke
Let me reboot it.
He broke out of his skin. So
Oh, that's true.
out of his,
Yeah.
he smashed through it. So he can't be clown ghoulie anymore. He's just
Yeah.
ghoulie, and that's not okay.
Then there's Giant Ghoulie, who shows up in this one,
Yeah, but isn't giant ghoulie just another version of fish ghoulie?
basically. Then there's Toad Ghoulie, who's only in this one. This one
remember
looks like a
Toad Ghoulie.
frog. It's like all on its hind legs. It's like, and then there's Light and Dark Ghoulie, which is a horrible racist joke because one is white and one is black. There are Ghoulies 4 only.
Okay, well again we'll have to talk about that when
We'll
we get there.
when we get there. So those are the Ghoulies' names. What part of bumfuck are these local yokels from that when they see these creatures, they would go, rats, rats, rats.
So hilarious.
If you go to a carnival and the thing that's going to turn your haunted house, your fun house's fortunes around is the people believe that your fun house is infested with rats. You don't have a viable business plan.
I agree.
Why are these people so excited to fork over cash to see a rat-infested spook house?
Yeah, I do not know. It's a very bizarre moment in a very bizarre film.
They're led by children. The children go out into the carnival and go,
and then
there
we
was
saw
this
these
rat,
rats.
They try to bite my fingers off and rats. And then everybody goes, wow, we got to see that. One guy literally goes, wow, I got to pay money for that. And then they go into the spook house. It's like it's like a stampede of people. And then they see the ghoulies after they've mummified that one guy. And they all start chanting rats, 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 as if it's like they're like local celebrities have come to town or something.
Well, building from that point, there's a moment when, so the asshole, to call them jocks is not the right word, but the youthful asshole and sort of antagonists that go through there and they lose one of their mates. Yeah. They come back looking for their mate and bring the cops with them
and
are threatening
box.
that.
And my tunes.
And the boombox. Yeah, that's right. And when the ghoulies finally start attacking people, including Larry and Sir Nigel, they run out for help, and there's a security guard there, and these guys are there who are back looking for their friend who know there's been foul play.
Yeah.
And when Larry's saying, like, come on, we got to get in there, these things are in there, they're running riot, they're going to hurt people, they just all laugh. The security guard laughs, the corporate villain laughs, and the guys who are looking for their friend or the group laugh. I'm like, this movie is so fucking dumb. There's your explanation.
Dumb.
That's what you're back here for.
You know what this movie has a problem of that the other movie also has the same problem of is that there's nobody really with any kind of degree. This sounds so ridiculous about Ghoulies too. There's no character in it with agency. And what I mean by that is somebody needed to intentionally or accidentally summon the Ghoulies. Like
they're just on the run here, right?
No, the uncle finds this book that has all of this horseshit.
At the very start of the film,
he reads the
some guy was
incantation.
trying to kill them, and then they knock him. The flying ghoulie knocks him into the vat of whatever.
Yes, the priest or whatever.
And then they jump on the back of the truck to go to the carnival. So him reading the book has the only.
Oh, I guess that is right. You're right. I forgot about that. I thought he got the book there, but you're right. They were already summoned.
Yeah,
he had captured them, was trying to kill them. They got loose, put him in the vat of acid.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. So he found the book. Yes, that's even worse than I thought.
Yeah. So the only purpose of the book is just to give the drunk old guy the impression that he did this.
Correct. Yes. So then he thinks that maybe he can control him, but since he didn't summon him, he can't control him, and so they kill him.
And then we get a 10-minute sequence where they torment him and finally electrocute him.
Yes, you're right. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm not saying this needed to be Nightmare Alley, but wouldn't it have been a better movie, even a better Ghoulies movie, if somebody?
I don't know what you're going to say. The answer is yes.
If there was this carnival. Rather than there being this stock and trade 80s bullshit of somehow a multi-million-dollar corporation also has a very small carnival in their portfolio. And the heir apparent to the empire is going to come to bumfuck USA to be like, I got to know how much cash this spook house is bringing in.
This is losing its money. How much money can it be losing you?
How much money could it be? If a carnival is that big a part of your portfolio, you're not that big of a conglomerate.
You're not doing it right.
What else is in there? Like a putt-putt place? Like a go-kart place? Like, what else do you have?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It makes it seem as if, like, you know, all of our assets, what else would you have? A couple of trailer parks? Like, come on. If this is a make it or break it for you. Anyway, get rid of that. It should have just been the uncle or somebody owned because they did the whole fucking tie-in where the drunk uncle was a magician, a stage magician. And nobody cared about old-timey magic anymore. And plus his drunkenness, he couldn't do the bits anymore because he's too drunk. And he's now living in disgrace, right? You were once the great whatever, the great wazoo, and da-da-da-da. And he's like, yeah, some great magician I am. Wouldn't it have made more sense if the fucker found an actual spell book of magic, since it's in this movie and in the first one, along their trip down the road, and he's tempted to be like,
Faustian deal. Yeah.
Yes, and it temporarily turns the fortunes around. And maybe even the carnival itself, we see where like there's all these like old tattered tents and shit. And all of a sudden, like by seemingly overnight, like they're nice and shiny and new, and people feel compelled to come, and no one can quite explain why. And everything's going great, right? There's nothing nefarious going on. Everything's going great. They're making money hand over fist. But the monkey paw deal of it is only lasts for a while, and then hell's ghoulies show up, right? And little by little, they start wreaking havoc, and accidents start to happen, and mistakes start to happen.
Start dying. Yep.
And he keeps doubling down on the magic and going, I don't understand why this isn't working. And he can't tell anybody. And then when he realizes he's essentially made a deal with the devil, it's too late. And he tells his nephew, and it's up to the nephew and him to try to stop it. And then he gets killed for his sins. And like, there's a way you write this schlock where it is an entertaining film. Because like the premise is kind of there. The ingredients are there. The ghoulies are here. They're actually more forward in the movie. There are actual, like, they're not, compared to the first one, they're actual characters. They have motivations. It's just, they don't, like, it's not finished. It's not assembled. It's just pieces of a movie.
I think it's time, Jason, that you answered your calling. Because especially the episodes we do, because you torture me the most, but every so often when you also have to do schlock with, or choose to do schlock with other guests, you do the same thing. You rewrite the movies on the fly, or at least with a little bit of pre-thought, and they always are better movies. So it's time, Jason. It's time to put pen to paper or fingers to keyboard. It's time to write one of these things yourself and start shopping it around to the smaller.
It's time for me to write schlock.
Yeah. Because you'll write it better than any of these idiots do.
It's time to write Feast 2. What's your movie called? Reap 2.
Reap 2. Yep.
I'm going to write Reap 2.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like you and I, okay, we've had a horror podcast together. We have talked about horror movies together for going on 5 years. We watch a lot of horror movies independent of each other.
Yes.
There's a way to do this. It's not that hard, right? Just write a basic fucking story.
It's banned fucking boozling.
Why do this? I don't understand. If we're going to go to the effort to make a second Ghoulies, why not write a script?
I got a bigger question for you.
Yeah.
We know, apparently, according to Wikipedia and worldwideboxoffice.com, that the first Ghoulies made bank somehow. We don't understand.
It's probably very cheaply made. Yeah.
So even if we believe those numbers, it made almost 7 times its budget back. So they went, okay, of course, therefore, a Ghoulies 2 gets made and it comes out 2.5 years later, give or take. There's no word on the box office here. And I think
it's straight to video. I think Ghoulies 2 is straight to video.
Well, 3 and 4 obviously no different, but
yes.
Can you believe this made enough money that it warranted a Ghoulies 3?
In 1986, during the home video boom in the United States and the world, yes. Charles Band is a
consummate successful
multi-millionaire, like several companies over, right?
He's Jason Blum before Jason Blummed.
Even before that, even before he did Full Moon and Empire and whatever the other one he had was, he was media entertainment. So pretty much any movie, even for major studios that was distributed, there was like RCA, Home Media, and there was a few others. He was one of the very earliest home video distributors. So he would have these put through deals with the major studios. So, you know, we're talking about big time movies. He's the one that's putting up the cost of dubbing them to tapes, putting them in boxes and shipping them out. And he has the rights to distribute major studio films because they weren't doing it themselves for a long time. They didn't start doing that until the late 80s when they realized, oh shit, there's millions of dollars to be made from us just distributing these movies ourselves. We don't need a middleman. And then when that happened, he pivoted because he's also making movies. He just pivoted full time into what would become Full Moon. So the guy's not been anything but on top of his game, so to speak. No shit.
Look,
this says the budget for the first Ghoulies was $5 million, and they made $35 million. Jesus Christ! I thought that was wow.
All right. So
starved for entertainment in America in the 80s, I guess. I don't know. I've always talked about there was a ravenous appetite for this shit, and there was. It just was just different era. We didn't have the internet, I guess. We had to occupy this time with something. There's no Bumble back then.
Ghoulies based.
There's no Tinder. There's no Grindr for Paul to get on.
Sure. All right.
Here's what I'll say about this in favor of Ghoulies 2, Paul.
Well, okay,
I think it starts way stronger, just as a movie, like a horror movie, like a schlocky horror movie than the first one. But like, it's only an hour, barely an hour and a half, maybe an hour, 27 minutes. At the hour mark, it lost me. I was already checked out. I like the last 30 minutes of this movie, I was like, I don't care anymore.
Well,
just don't care.
Maybe by comparison, I'm going to be polite to this film. At least it had some kills. At least it had some characters getting off. At least it had people you disliked and wanted to see die, and then they did. Yeah. At least the Ghoulies were front and center in their own movie, and it was actually about them. So, overall, overall, this is a much better film than the first one. Is it a good movie? No. Do you really? When the big ghoulie comes out, giant ghoulie comes out at the end, does it make any lick of sense whatsoever that it is the answer, and it just starts eating all the ghoulies, and that's the way it solves the problem. And it wants to eat Sir Nigel as well because he's also a little person.
Yeah, but it ends up turning on them. Yeah, because it thinks the little person is a ghoulie.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is really distasteful. Or really tasty if you're.
Well, we don't know, do we? We shouldn't judge.
Yeah. Frog legs. 3 out of 10. Number 2 of the week. Ghoulies 2.
4 out of 10. My best of the week.
Okay. Right.
Now, I think I may have made an error before. What did you say the first Ghoulies was? What number was it for you of the week?
4.
4. Oh, no. That was 3rd of the week for me. We haven't got to the worst one yet.
Yeah. All right, it's time to move on to Ghoulies 3. Ghoulies Go to College, which came out in 1990 and has a 22% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Ludicrous.
It's prank week at Glazier College. And the frat boys are out for blood.
You won't get away with those foolish pranks this year.
But what these party animals don't realize,
I now command you to appear.
Is they've got 3 new pledges from hell.
Let's take a tour around, schmucks.
Yeah. Wait.
Now, the Ghoulies are about to learn what higher education is all about. Brewskis.
I'll just take one.
Babes.
Uh-oh. So, what's your major?
And partying hardy.
They drink our brews. This is war.
Look, there's been a murder on campus.
Sorry, operator. Frankly,
They may flunk out on manners, but they get an A in mayhem. Ghoulies 3. Ghoulies go to college. They put the animal back in the house.
This movie was directed by John Carl Buechler. It was written by Luca Bercovici, Jeffrey Levy, Brett Olson. The old gang's back. We're all back together.
Shame.
Fuck yeah.
Shame.
It's the triumphant debut of Kevin McCarthy, who starred in the original invasion of the Body Snatchers. It was on Twilight Zone episode. It was a great character actor. And like all good character actors of the golden era of Hollywood, was doing straight to video shit in the 1980s. Paul, I couldn't believe they had the shit they had Kevin McCarthy doing in this fucking movie. He must have needed to buy a condo or pay off his mortgage. When they put that monster makeup on him at the end and his belly is talking, he's got that big prosthetic face on his gut, and he's like, "Ooh, I'm a ghoulie, feed me more." I was like, oh, I cannot believe this guy's an invasion of the Body Snatchers. This guy's in historic films. What are we doing? It's a triumphant debut of Jason Scott Lee, who is the star of Rapa Nui just a few short years later, as well as Dragon, Enter the Dragon, or whatever, the Bruce Lee story.
Dragon, the Bruce Lee story.
Bruce Lee story. Yep. It's the triumphant return of Hope Marie Carlton, last seen in Nightmare on Elm Street 4, and maybe one day, if we get lucky, Hard Ticket to Hawaii. She was one of the Andy Sedaris. Andy? Anyway, Sedaris gals. And if we get lucky, we will dive into some Sedaris later this year. It's the triumphant return of Kane Hodder, who slips and falls and is going downhill on a bucket. Did you recognize him?
No.
You know that guy that's like, whoa! And he gets his ass stuck in a mop bucket and he's going across campus at the very beginning of the movie. That's Kane Hodder. Last scene, he's a stunt guy. So last scene in Jason X. Film was released, I don't know when. What was the budget? I don't give a fuck. Box office?
Did I tell you?
Didn't have any. A frat house toilet is a portal to prank week hijinks when those lovable, murderous spawns of Satan crawl out of the shitter and into our hearts.
A bunch of arsehole frat boys that happen to look like ghoulies drag this franchise into the depths of cinematic hell.
I have questions, Paul.
Oh, fuck me, Jason.
Are you quite the anchor?
The anchor? Please
Yanker.
Yanker. Oh, yeah. Whoa. Whew, pranks,
Is that an expression in Australia?
Never heard of it. No.
I've never heard of that in my fucking life. They don't call them pranks, even though they say it's prank week, but they don't. That's the only time they say prank. Every other time they call them yanks. And the people who perform the yanks are yankers.
Yankers.
So they'll constantly be like, are you the king of the yankers? Are you the prince of the yankers? Are you the yanker prince? It's quite the yank, isn't it? Aren't you quite the yanker? And I'm like, what? Is that an attempt at body humor or juvenile sophomoric humor? Or is that a real expression ever? Dear listener, are you from a part of the world where hijinks and pranks are called yanks? And if so,
don't you have a show there called Crank Yankers?
Yeah. That's about prank calls, puppets making prank calls, but I just thought the crank yanker thing was a double entendre because it was crank calls and they're yanking your chain. We have the phrase is the person yanking there's the guy that is yanking my chain, but not yankers for pranks. That's just, or yanks. That's just really strange. I don't know. Okay. Is it beta theta zeta, theta beta zeta, or zeta theta beta?
This is the face of someone who gives zero fucks. Jason, we've watched some bad films.
I'm gonna pass out legitimately. My blood pressure just fucking dropped. I can't see straight. I can't feel my fingertips. Whoa. That was the most sincere thing I have ever heard you fucking say.
This movie. I'm just going to say it up front. I'm not going to bury the lead. I would like to nominate this for the anti-vault. This is the worst movie. This could be.
This is not the worst Ghoulies.
I hated this so much. The moment the music started, I knew I was going to hate this fucking movie. And then when they started talking, I was like, what the fuck is happening in my life? Have I taken something by accident? What is this? Is
I have never, ever in my life laughed at a movie that was scored with hijinks music. Where it's like boom, 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 like cartoon music.
Yep.
They're never fucking funny. They're never funny. Never. So I was like, oh God. Okay. So I got more questions.
I've got many.
Must the ghoulies be summoned from the special ghoulie toilet?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Boy, have I lent into that first poster now. It doesn't get any
just
more
a toilet.
into it
It's
than here.
a toilet that has
ornate
them on
toilet.
it. An ornate toilet. Yeah. It's a ghoulie toilet that we've never seen before or since. And the magic book is gone. Now it's a comic book that contains the incantation in it.
Called Ghoulish Tales. Because
Yeah.
I'm like, how far has the lore in this franchise moved? That just don't give any shits about what's come before.
Did Veronica die? Veronica is the big titty girl in the shower.
Yes, I think so.
How?
I can't remember.
There are women in this world right now who pay to have bee or snake venom shot into their lips to puff them up. At best, all you need is ghoulies doing a Little Rascals bit where they get on each other's shoulders with a trench coat and come over like a grown man, then take a toilet plunger and then pump her lips up, and so her lips are real full. Then she dies from that? How does she die from that?
Yes, that is what happened. Yeah, the plunger thing, right?
Yes, the plunger. Why does that kill her?
We never see her again, though, so...
That's what I'm saying. So? Is she dead? And if so, how? Now, what's funny, I found it funny. You won't find it funny. So when she falls, we see her ass, we see her feet go over her head, and we see whatever. One of the ghoulies goes, because you would think you would see how, like, her horrendous death, right? Like, what is the death? She hits her head, her brain splat, something, right? But they don't show it. And the ghoulie goes, well, TV edit. Did you hear him, the ghoulie, say TV edit?
It does ring a bell, yes.
That made me laugh. That was funny.
Shit. The goriest death in this entire film is when a woman's tongue gets dragged out of her
That's not any fucking
throat.
Woman. She's actually from Newhart. She was in, when they say, oh, isn't she famous? Yeah, I remember her. The ghoulies are like, I remember her from Newhart. She's a famous actress who is the voice of Edna Krabappel in The Simpsons.
Ah, okay, there you go.
She's the most prestigious actor in this movie and has the most thankless role and the stupidest death.
Oh my god! Oh.
I have no idea why she was in this movie. She was already working on The Simpsons by this point.
I have no idea why anybody would be in this film.
Well, some of them, they didn't have careers, but she's a famous actress.
Yeah, true. Just so juvenile, just so bad, so unfunny, so painful. This was like fingernails down a chalkboard for 81, whatever the fuck it was, minutes.
Ironically, I think it's the shortest Ghoulies.
Oh, thank God for small mercies. Everything about this film stinks. Every single thing. There's not a redeeming element or moment, except one small thing. They probably do. One small thing. The guy who's playing the lead, Skip, who's reprehensible and a shit character and whatever else.
Yeah.
But he at least can give a line delivery so he doesn't sound like he's auditioning for a play at your local hall.
Yeah, correct.
He's about it. Yeah. The whole professor thing, he's so against Yank Week or Prank Week and all the yankers that are going on.
Professor Ragnarok is so against the yankers, he's going to get them all expelled.
Yeah, by summoning demons from hell, because that's a good play. Because so many pranks have been played on him that he's gone crazy. That makes perfect sense.
Insane. Yeah.
The security guard, who is the butt of all these, again, Three Stooges, custard pie, hijinks, jokes, and, his little
Do you recognize him?
car gets blown up. He did look familiar. Stephen Lee is his name, but I don't know. He
plays the cop in RoboCop 2. He plays Duffy. And when Kane goes, I thought you said you were just going to scare him, like the girl, and he's like, I don't know, it looks pretty scared to me. And then they make the boy watch as they slice him right down the middle because he's the drug addicted cop that sells him out to RoboCop. That's him.
Gotcha. There you go.
He's done a bunch of stateside TV. He's been a comedy actor. He's in a Looney Tunes movie where the biggest joke about him is that he may be trans or likes to wear women's underwear. Like, that's the joke.
Right.
And so remember when he shows up at the girl's house to warn them about the panty raid? But they said, "Oh, Officer so-and-so, what are you here for?" And he goes, "Your panties." And then she goes, she starts back and goes, "Oh, no, not like that, to protect them. And I'm here to warn you about a panty raid. In fact, it'd probably be better if you just gave all your underwears to me, and I'll have them back to you by Monday." Well, probably Tuesday. Well, end of the week at the latest. That's bad material.
Yeah.
Because the idea, of course, is that he's going to wear all their underwear because he's a sicko, that kind of thing. But his delivery, he could also deliver. They're shit lines, but he's the actual actor. He's actually delivering what's supposed to be comedy. It's just that's not funny.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, this film.
Now you brought up Skip. I got more questions. Did Skip use the dustbuster to perform oral gratification on that woman?
One of my questions here as well is they're under the covers and he comes up with a dustbuster and she's got a delighted look on her face.
And does that work? Does that work?
I don't know.
Can you lead a woman to orgasm with a dustbuster?
Do not put a household appliance anywhere near your partner's nether region. Yes.
Here's a little nifty from the 1980s. It's called a dustbuster. Do you prefer the scary Satanist ghoulies of Ghoulies 1?
Yes.
The carnival ghoulies you only choose one, of Ghoulies 2?
Yes.
Or the lewd Three Stooges ghoulies of Ghoulies 3?
Fucking hated the ghoulies in this.
What's your name?
Oh, look at that. Look at those boobs. Oh wow. Oh, yeah.
Oh, they got some brews in the fridge. We're drinking brewskis.
Yeah, we're drinking brews. Like, they are just frat boys. The worst kind of frat boys. Like, how have we reduced an already shit franchise to this?
How have we reduced the ghoulies to this?
I know. Who'd have thought the ghoulies in the first one?
You massacred my ghoulies.
That's it. And they're so bad. They're so bad. They didn't even bring them back for the fourth one.
No, that's not true. It's called Ghoulies.
It's called Ghoulies, but there's none of the original Ghoulies in it. There is the little people in it, but there's no Ghoulies.
There's Light and Dark Ghoulie.
Well, they're not Ghoulies, though. They're
technically Ghoulies. They're supposed to be
Ghoulies.
They're supposed to be Ghoulies. Here's what's really weird about this is that 1990 feels a bit late to be doing like college sex comedy party movie. Yep. That all came after the wake of Animal House, which was like Revenge of the Nerds and Porky's and Party Animals and Frat the movie and Fart the movie and all this Hamburger Hot Dog the movie and all this real like increasingly low rent junk that a lot of it went straight to video. But this is not 1983 or 4 or 5 or 6 this is 1990. We weren't making these movies like this anymore. So it just seems really odd. Like, again, I don't want to rewrite the movie. I'm not going to go to the same length. But if you told me we want to make a parody of and that's not what this is, but if you said we want to make a parody of dumb frat movies because that decade's over, and so we kind of want to like airplane it, we want to spoof it, and that's where the comedy is going to be, but we're going to inject it with like horror and gore and whatnot because the frat house, somebody did some ancient mumbo jumbo in the frat house, and same thing as the rewrite for the first fucking Ghoulies. The Ghoulies are going to invade campus And all that you need is unlikable people in a fixed location,
Yes.
and you set
And
the
the ghoulies
ghoulies
not to speak.
loose. You set the ghoulies loose to wreak havoc. And maybe that's too much like Gremlins, but that works.
Compared to this, oh my
works.
God.
But just I didn't mind them speaking as much as they just constantly talked, and they weren't given very they weren't given very funny lines. But in fairness, you're doing an imitation of them, and you're sounding like Beavis and Butthead, who just a few short years after this would be insanely popular.
But
so that was the humor. That was kind of the juvenile humor that was still with us in the 90s.
They're meant to be juvenile. They're meant to be pathetic.
Yes.
This is meant to be funny. The comedy at Beavis and Butthead came at laughing at them. You're meant to be on board.
That's what I meant
with
if you did it like a spoof of a frat movie, because the ghoulies in this are very meta. They're constantly breaking the fourth wall and like, oh, look at this. Oh, you turned out for another Ghoulies movie, huh? And they're almost like they're actually doing the voices of the Three Stooges. And each of them has adopted a Three Stooge personality. And they're even doing the slap each other and poking each other in the eye and that sort of shit. Okay. So if the Gremlins are the Looney Tunes and the Ghoulies are the Three Stooges, and then that's where they derive their slapstick from. Okay, that's fine. But the Ghoulies, I can't believe I put this much thought into it. The Ghoulies need to be making fun of the movie that they're in, right? So you can have the idiot jock or the idiot evil. In this case, they chose for him to be a Nazi, Heilman, which is a choice. And it's not even like subtle, because they flat out are like, you're a goose stepper, you and your Aryan youth buddies, you and your Nazi friends. It's just like, okay. The Ghoulies need to be the ones taking the piss out of Porky's, right? Let's say you made Porky's and then the Ghoulies show up. The Ghoulies are making fun of Porky's and they're killing the kids in Porky's. That has the potential of being something, because by 1990, we're all sick of these fucking movies, and horrors in the shitter too. We're all sick of these horror movies. So to have a kind of meta commentary that's crossing two genres, if written well, could have been a funny B movie. Instead, it's just, I honestly, I don't feel like a lot of the Ghoulies dialogue was written. It was all done in post-production, and it was just, I feel like they got a handful of people just to riff, to do the voices and riff, and it just ends up not being funny most of the time.
Not at all funny. I detest this film, Jason. Everything you said, I
got one genuine laugh out of it.
100 times over before I watch this piece of shit again. This is abysmal.
No. I got one.
All right, what was the genuine laugh? Go, please, enlighten
When they ask at the very beginning, I think his name's Stuart. She's like, "Stuart, are you in the toilet?" And it cuts to the bathroom, and the Ghoulies are like, "Yeah," and they have him in the fucking toilet,
upside down,
crammed with it. Doesn't make any sense, and the Ghoulies start laughing. That was the editing was good comedic timing. Stuart, are you in the toilet? And then boom, he's actually like being crushed in the toilet, and they're laughing about it because they get the gag. You needed more of that, where it's like they get the joke. The Ghoulies have to be in on it, and they were trying to do it. I don't think we're smart enough. Now, I got more questions about the plot, Paul. Erin is mad at Skip, but she dumped Skip and started dating the Nazi Heilman. Yep. Why is she mad at Skip for Skip seeing other girls when she dumped him and told him earlier that day she wants nothing to do with him and she's dating Heilman now? But then she shows up at the frat house during a party to return his jacket while she's on a date with Heilman on the Vespa?
They explain all of this at the end, Jason. So I've got an answer for you.
Okay.
She really didn't like him all along. She just wanted to make Skip realize what he'd lost.
That makes her a terrible person.
Yes.
That's emotional manipulation. That person that doesn't love you. They're trying to control you.
Agreed.
Yeah.
There's nothing nice, nothing good about this particular character, other than potentially maybe the way she looks, which is what Skip's obviously all up and into.
She's hot. Yeah. She's very hot. to say that we get through, this is where Ghoulies 3 lets me down, Paul. This is where it lets me down.
How has it not let you down till this point?
We get through like goddamn at least half, 2/3 of this movie before we actually fully, completely get the villain's motivation, which is he wants the prank crown. Kevin, the professor's like, Ghoulies, bring me the prank crown so I can stage my own death and make it look like this guy tried to kill me.
Right. Okay. Well, we know his motivation is to end prank week.
Yeah,
Stop
sure.
it cold. Yeah.
But then the Ghoulies are like, this guy's crazy. Like that was actually kind of a funny line because they're like, what? They're like, what the hell? This guy's nuts. When the Ghoulies are like, what? Whatever. The joke where he like is kind of like accidentally summoning them and terrified of them and sending them away, and they keep like leaping back and forth, and the Ghoulies are getting pissed off. They're like, "Oh, come on! What the hell? What do you want with us, man?" And they're like, "He's like, oh," and he says whatever, and he sends them back across campus. Some of that, there's ideas of humor there. Ghoulies, they're summoned for no reason, right? Why?
Right.
Why were they conjured?
Read the comic.
No clue.
Comic. Nope.
Ghoulies 2, they were summoned to boost ticket sales for a carnival.
Well, they weren't summoned in Ghoulies 2. They just happened to
that's true. That's right. They were just on the loose. As a carryover, because they show up at the end of Ghoulies 1. So
Ghoulies 1, where they pop out.
Right.
Which
That's true. That's true. But in Ghoulies 3, they're summoned from the toilet to end a prank war between frat houses. Could we have not thought of a better reason to conjure Ghoulies in the 80s?
Yes. I'm sure we could have.
Yeah.
Like
if you had to conjure a ghoulie, what would you conjure a ghoulie for, and which one would you conjure?
I don't think I would conjure a ghoulie. I think these films have enlightened me as to the risks of making pacts
not even
with
to do
devil.
like light housework.
No, I think I'd just suck it up and do it myself. So
the one I like the most is Cat Ghoulie, and I think he's kind of cool. He seems to be the one that gets provoked into doing evil by the frog ghoulie or whatever, the
fish ghoulie.
The fish ghoulie and the rat ghoulie. Rat ghoulie I don't want around. But Cat Ghoulie seems kind of cool.
I think this is called splitting ghoulies. I'm not here for it. It's not okay.
Did you react?
I have a question for you.
I haven't pulled a yank in days. Did you hear when they said that?
I think that's probably the way I reacted. I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So Ghoulish Tales summons these creatures.
In this version of the lore, yes.
In this version of the film, of the series. And then when Professor Ragnarok, or whatever the hell his name is, Ragnar, becomes a sort of super ghoulie, it doesn't work. It doesn't work. Skip tries to banish him by reading the comic. It doesn't work. So
because he and the comic book are one now, because remember, he looks at the comic book and the comic book's alive in his hand.
Right. So when he throws so had he just ripped the pages then of the comic, that would have torn him asunder?
I believe so.
Yep. Instead, he goes, "Oh, I'll throw it in the toilet. That should sort things out.
I'll throw it in the magic ghoulie toilet." And it does. Yep. It kind of works, but not really, because the little ghoulies are still alive.
Yeah. I don't understand this logic very much. Jason, can you enlighten me, please?
No. I can't sort all of the lore and make sense of it for Ghoulies 3.
Or lack thereof.
I give Ghoulies 3 a 4 out of 10. It's the best of the week.
No.
Yeah, Ghoulies 3.
Look, I know you're upset about Hellraiser 3, but this is taking it too far.
If you can put a movie with a CD changer in a guy's head and a piston in a guy's head, he's like, I'm fucking with piston power. What does he say?
He says, it's better than sex, baby.
Yeah. Better than sex, baby. TV edit. Cat Ghoulie. I like Cat Ghoulie.
This is the absolute fucking worst film of the week. I think it should be in the anti-vault, not nominated to get into the actual vault.
They fall into a grown man's college kid's closet. They come out in ghoulie-sized clothes.
0.2 out of 10.
Paul, you can't find a
And it's
movie
fucking
where they
lucky.
fall into the closet of full-grown man clothes and they come out with ghoulie-sized clothes. And the first thing Cat Ghoulie says is he turns to Rat Ghoulie and he goes, like he's hitting on her. So, what's your major?
Oh my God.
Then there's the song,
Fucking hate
there's
this
a
movie.
party over here that goes on for the last 20 minutes of the movie. Just nonstop. There's a party going on right here.
Best of
And
the
the
week.
ghoulies
huh?
are dancing to it.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
A film so bad
Yeah.
that the regular ghoulies never appear ever anywhere in mainstream media.
What?
We never
Who-
see these ghoulies ever again.
These ghoulies?
Yeah, we never
The
see
Ghoulies
this.
3
other than
ghoulies are the-
archival. Archive. No, they're not.
Oh, you already moved on to the next movie.
Well, I'm starting to allude to. I'm just like, yeah, we never see them after this. Can we please move
all right.
on?
It's time to move on to a Jim Wynorski film. Jim Wynorski, man, what a fucking career this guy had. 1994's Ghoulies 4, which has a 32% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Though Officer Graves has a disturbing past, he's glad to be back on the force.
Attention, Haymar shoppers. Clean up on aisle 4.
Now his tormentors are back in person and in leather.
Command me.
Bring me the jewel.
You're not allowed to touch my jewels anymore, Kate.
Do you want to frisk me?
Give me all your money.
Yes, the legend continues because they're back. It's Muggers, Zero, and Ghoulies 4.
Ghoulies 4 was directed by Jim Wynorski. It was written by Mark Sevi. It's a triumph return of nobody.
Well, not true.
Okay.
It's a triumph return of Peter Liapis.
Oh,
From
well, no,
Ghoulies.
not, they don't, triumph returns aren't in the same episode.
Okay, right.
They're between episodes. It was released August 17th, 1994, straight to video on a budget of not available. It made not available. Although the lore behind this is that this was the lowest budget of any Ghoulies movie, which I believe.
Yeah, that's fair.
This is my synopsis. The only direct
one too.
sequel to the original Ghoulies and the only one without Ghoulies of any kind.
Thank you.
How do you
Okay,
make a direct fucking sequel and there are no Ghoulies in the movie?
That's what I'm saying. There are no ghoulies in this particular. All right, so here's my synopsis.
Yeah.
A decade of ghoulies blessedly comes to an end with a film starring no ghoulies, an impractical leather-clad assassin, and a BDSM-loving cop, who also happens to be Jonathan from the original film.
Yeah, a lot of BDSM in this one. Somebody's working something out, right? In their art. Okay, the tagline for this movie is a little black magic, a little black leather, and a lot of black humor. Did you find this movie funny?
No. Did I find
Jonathan
it funnier than Ghoulies 3?
Jonathan has given up Satanism. He's no longer with Rebecca.
He's had a rough 10 years. He's had a rough 10 years. He does not look like he's 10 years old. He looks like he's 20 years older.
He doesn't even look like the same person. I had to
it's
Google it to be like,
astounding.
I know that's the same character, but is that a different actor?
I didn't click until about 15 minutes into the movie. It was the same guy. Oh my God.
Yeah. There's no explanation of what he's done for the last 10 years, except for the fact that he's become a world-weary cliche cop.
Yeah.
Who wears a special amulet that can be used to resurrect the evil side of himself named Faust. His leather S&M ex-girlfriend psychopath escapes from an insane asylum and wants to kill him to resurrect his evil side so that she could be with him forever.
Yeah.
But a prostitute,
He doesn't treat it very well.
a sex worker who he is blackmailing as a detective into fucking him, accidentally who cares for him until she meets another cop who, to quote her, gets her panties wet. Steals the amulet because she thinks it would look nice when she's turning tricks with her Johns. which makes him susceptible to be killed so that his demon self can come into our world
and take his place.
And meanwhile, the only person who's willing to help him is a new partner who ends up falling under the spell of the S&M ex-girlfriend and his captain, who just happens to be a very buxom blonde who used to fuck
and
him.
his ex-girlfriend. Yep.
And his ex-girlfriend. And if that's all a big old convoluted thing that seems like it would be a plot to a porno, or at least a softcore porno, I would say that most of the actors in this movie, their IMDb is nothing but softcore porn, literal Skinamax movies. This is at the level of Skinamax. This is softcore erotica without a lot of boobs. I think there's more boobs in Ghoulies 3. And there's two little people. One of them is our boy from Bad Santa, Tony, whatever his name is. Yeah,
did not think to that. Oh, Tony Cox.
Yeah, Tony Cox. He's technically a ghoulie. He plays Dark.
It does say Ghoulie Dark here. Yep.
Ghoulie Dark because he's black, and the white little person plays Ghoulie Light.
Ghoulie Light. But they're not even ghoulies. They're the little people.
And all of the jokes between them are race-based jokes. And then they switch sides throughout the movie, and they're like, they're in a lot of this movie, but they're just kind of at the fray, like they're at the periphery, just providing commentary.
They literally do nothing until the very end of the film that influences the plot. This whole film could have progressed exactly as it did until
they're the Indiana Jones of the Ghoulies franchise. Yeah,
they are until they go and grab the jewel and give it and portray the evil dude. So yes. Oh, wow. That's a great description, and I 100% agree. And here's the rub, Jason, no pun intended. This one I liked way more than Ghoulies 3, and I like this one way more than the first Ghoulies. And I'll tell you why. Because as much as it had a low budget, it actually had moments of genuine kind of, hey, that car chase thing. I'm like, whoa, that was well filmed. And
You're
well
giving this a higher score
that.
because that woman looked Alexandra looked very good in that leather.
She storms in that opening scene and kills like 4 guards. I'm like, this is already been a movie.
Has no opening. Literally the movie just starts and a door fucking explodes into the camera.
Yep.
And she's just in there in full S&M gear with her tits hanging out.
Already better than Ghoulies 3.
It's wild. I thought I missed it. I had to rewind. I go, did I miss the start of this? Nope.
And she's throwing ninja stars into people's heads and shooting them cold blood. I'm like, whoa, this film just escalated very fast from the hijinks of the last one.
Yeah, she's like, hi, boyfriend, that throws a throwing star into his head. Yes.
Not a good film. I'm not defending. I'm just saying.
You know, I can't believe that you like this more than Ghoulies 3, because my first note that I wrote about this movie is this the going bananas of the Ghoulies franchise?
No, you missed that happened in the last film.
This reminded me so thoroughly of that Dom DeLuise Going Bananas film or Nuki or something along that line. This is horrendous. This is one of the worst movies I have ever seen.
It's funny we had such reactions to two different films in the franchise.
The sort of movie that had me asking, what is the meaning of life?
I was just there the last movie we discussed.
Are we alone in the universe?
What am I doing with my time?
Is there a God? And if so, what does he expect from my life?
A good third of this film, Paul, is reused Ghoulies footage from Ghoulies 1 with completely new dubbing over it.
Yep.
Why was this made? They didn't have a story. They didn't have a plot. They didn't have a budget. I never for the life of me thought that where this franchise would go about these little creatures that wreak havoc, kind of, I guess, some of the time, and that it would be all about like this kink that this cop has.
Yep.
For crazy women who can tie him up and spank him. This is weird. This is a weird direction to take this series in.
Yep. And it killed the series, thankfully. Very thankfully, because otherwise we'd be here talking about more of them after this. Yeah, it's not a good Ghoulies film. It's not a good film by any stretch of imagination.
Did the sex worker,
there are moments,
not the main one, the one that Dark and Light rescue in the street, they say they help her from the pimp who's trying to beat her up. And she's like, I've got plenty of ways to say thank you to both of you. Is the insinuation that she got Eiffel Towered by Ghoulies?
I still don't like calling them Ghoulies. I still don't think they are. But anyway.
Did she get DP'd by ghoulies?
Yes.
That's it, right?
Yep, sure.
Why is that in this movie? Why are people fucking ghoulies?
Don't know, Jason.
I've never watched a ghoulies film and thought, what if one of the ghoulies fucked a human woman? I've never thought that. I'm going to go out on a limb here, and I'm going to say that what's his name, I is a sick person. I don't like passing judgment on people for what they write, because it doesn't mean that that's what you actually believe, and so forth and so on. But I don't think something like this can come out of a mind that isn't depraved.
Well, let's look at some of the other things that he's written. Pterodactyl, Arachnid, Dead Men Can't Dance, Scanner Cop 2.
Ooh, Scanner
Fast
Cop
Getaway
2.
2. Mm-hmm.
Scanner Cop 2 is the offshoot series of Scanner Cop that originated from the Scanner sequels that David Cronenberg disavowed, that I told you a long time ago I was going to make you watch the Scanner Cop series, and you never did. So you're watching that now. I was going to have you watch Munchies, but I think there's only one Munchies.
Thank God.
But
you could just do like a whole bunch of those really shit 80s like spookies, Munchies, Hobgoblins.
Yeah.
What else would fall into that 80s era of standalone
Critters? But there's like 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah. Well,
2 of them are
worse than this.
Yeah. No. I would say it probably goes Gremlins, Critters, and Ghoulies by default.
Daylight, Ghoulies.
Yeah. I didn't need to watch this movie. I didn't need to see a movie where a woman who's being trafficked fucks 2 ghoulies. I didn't need that in my life.
Didn't say it.
Nothing. Well, it's heavily implied. This was boring. This was badly made. This was cheap. This was tawdry. This was sick. This was stupid.
No wonder I liked it. Well,
the antagonist is his shadow self. But in no other Ghoulies movie is that concept introduced, that what he's really battling is.
Look, you can't hold no other Ghoulie movie something happened against this one if you're not going to hold it against the third one.
It's not a part of the canon. This is not canon.
Nothing was part of the third movie's canon.
Ghoulies 4 is the Last Jedi of the Ghoulies series. It's not canon. I do not accept it.
I do not accept any Ghoulies that can, the original ones, the proper puppetry ones that can speak. So that's where I draw the line.
When Cat Ghoulie took that amulet and threw it over his shoulder and said he didn't care about any of it, and it all needed to die, and it was going to die with him on that island, I knew the series was over. When that girl,
I'm not saying.
When that prostitute went to that island to go find Cat Ghoulie to bring him back to save the world, and he was like,
"What?
No." He's like, "What do you want? You want Cat Ghoulie to come back and what? Face Faust with his magic amulet and shoot it like it's a Star Trek phaser, and that's just going to save the day?" Some legend Cat Ghoulie is.
Can we imagine just for a moment?
Yeah.
If we made
That's how
Jason.
the movie ends, though. The police captain just walks into the backyard of this Beverly Hills mansion they've rented, grabs the amulet, pushes it with like it's got a button on it, but it's just a gemstone. And then the sound effect is pew, 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 like a phaser.
Yep.
And then
Loved it.
phaser beams
awesome.
come out of it. And then a portal opens up when you get shot with it. And it
sucks you into hell.
And
that effect.
S&M
I was rolling around.
Runs
Patricia
backwards.
She's waving her arms like running backwards.
Yes.
It's so hilarious.
And they just like use a dissolve effect on her. I was like, oh my God. She's being sucked into the portal.
Nothing more.
Oh God.
Oh, it's hilarious. So can you imagine for a moment, Jason?
Yeah.
And that someone out there is tuned in this episode for the first time. This is the first Binge Movies episode they've downloaded to hear us talking about the Ghoulies. I just want to say I'm so sorry to that person if you've made it all the way through this, because that means either you love this series and you probably haven't made it this far.
I think about that all the time.
We're tearing it apart.
Yeah.
Or if you have gotten this far because you have this weird fascination with the Ghoulies but appreciate how shit it is as a series, then well done to you. welcome. It's great to have you here. But of course, this is not a typical episode. This is just what Jason does to me when he's upset with me.
Yeah.
So, come back next week, and I'm sure Jason will have a wonderful, wonderful guest on with a wonderful series of films, and that's what you should check out of this show.
No, this is the end of the season. Do you?
Oh, is it? This is the last one.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We're heading to the last movie standing, baby. You think I'm the only person on earth who has reviewed a Fellini film and Ghoulies 4 in a 30-day window?
I think you're the only person who's reviewed Ghoulies 3 and Ghoulies 4 in a 30-day window. Well, no, there's two of us.
Yeah. Me and you, man, we're making fucking history.
Yeah, I think I have some vague recollection of another podcasting friend of mine watching them. I don't know if he did it on his show, though, but he certainly watched all four of them back to back.
Are you talking about Brad?
Like, no, I'm talking about Drew from Real Feels podcast. So,
yeah. Shout out to Drew.
Drew, good luck to you, sir, if you did this horrible,
he was just on the previous
track.
episode. He was just on 2004 part 1.
Awesome.
Oh, man. Should Ghoulies be rebooted?
No.
Is there more meat on this bone, Paul? Are there a lot
only
of
if they went
Ghoulies ideas left to explore?
Here's my caveat. You have to create it. Charles Band has to give it to you to do. And everything you've talked about today has to be the way you go. But you're not allowed to make them talk. You are not allowed to. I'm banning it here and now for the rest of history of time, future of time.
Can there be a gag where one of the Ghoulies holds up a sign like Wile E. Coyote and there's writing on it? He doesn't speak. Just one time.
Yes. Once.
Okay. Once. If Warner Brothers is
by the way, we
put out that Acme movie, let's get a Ghoulies out there.
There you go. Two things. One, the very last line of dialogue from the Ghoulies in this film did make me laugh.
This fucking made you laugh?
See you for Ghoulies 4 Part 2.
This made you laugh? The
whole was the last one.
Point of them is they want to get the portal open so they can go back to hell. Those two Ghoulies are like, we're not supposed to be in the human world. We got to get back to our own dimension. And they finally accomplish it, right? They go, see you later, and they jump through the portal, right? End of movie. Bad guy gets
they pop
defeated.
back up.
It's not really a mid-credit stinger, but it kind of is. And the movie's going to end, and everybody walks away, and the portal opens up again, and they come out of the portal, and they wave to the camera and go, good night, folks. See you later. See you in the sequel.
See you for Ghoulies 2.
See you in Ghoulies 4 Part 2, the sequel. They jump back into the portal. I couldn't believe it. I was like,
where was this in Ghoulies 3?
If you produce this movie, there is no Ghoulies 5. There's no Ghoulies 4 Part 2.
They didn't even call it Ghoulies 5. It was Ghoulies 4 Part 2. That made me laugh even harder.
I cringed at every ounce of this movie. I hated it.
I can't believe you didn't appreciate the car scene where she's being taken out and she's flashing and smashing into other cars, and then the car explodes when it hits a sign. I thought that was really good. I thought some of
this is your number one
action-y? No, number 2.
Okay, I'm nominating for the.
This is my second.
No, I'm nominating for the anti-fault.
I'm nominating the third one for the anti-fault. Here we go. It's time. It's time to go to the.
They both.
Which one?
Actually, they can't, because that's my number one. Ghoulies 3 is my number one, so it technically can't go into the anti-vault.
Well, in that case, maybe I'm changing my order to preserve Ghoulies 4.
No. Don't you fucking do this again.
Ghoulies 2 is the best of the week, but if I have to save Ghoulies 4 from the anti-vault.
Okay, we're wrapping this up. Can you imagine being like, let's say you love Hellraiser, like all of them.
Sorry if you do.
Can you? And I have an impression about this, right? So, and imagine you're like, oh, it's spooky season. I love the Hellraiser films, and you're searching for Hellraiser podcasts, and you're like, oh, this thing, and it's a multi-hour 2-part Hellraiser retrospective. Let me hit play, and we pile on and pile on and pile on ad infinitum for 5.5 hours combined. about what a shit series this is.
But one of them then makes the vault.
You're never watching this show again or listen to the show again. The drop off.
Oh, hang on.
Oh, no, wait. The Hellraiser Part 1 was the biggest single debut of any of our Halloween spooktaculars. It
really?
blew everything else out of the water.
Wow.
It was like 153% higher in downloads. It was.
Are we trying to say there's that many more Hellraiser fans than there are Friday the 13th, Halloween,
Nightmare on Elm Street, or there maybe aren't as many people have talked about it at length like the other series?
Wow.
I don't know. We got slightly more than half of that for the second part. So either everybody knows those movies are shit, or we attracted a historical number of new listeners. And
who then went, fuck these guys.
Turn them off. so,
wow.
That's never happened, but I always had that thought in the back of my head of, if you put out an episode, it's like, this would be all about Mission Impossible, right? Now, I like the Mission Impossible movies, but say I didn't,
Me too.
and my guest didn't, and somebody tuned in and we're just fucking roasting these movies for 4 hours, how pissed would you be? You'd be like, who is this asshole talking about what I love? And this asshole is Paul from The Countdown. He reviews things in order of awesomeness, so you don't have to.
Quick other question then. So I just realized, of course, the way that you're marketing this episode and the way you've put, run with the joke right to the end.
Yep.
This episode's not getting people looking for ghoulies. It's not.
Nope.
So it's just... So even if that unicorn exists, they're not finding this. You're only going to find people who are coming for 2004, the highest grossing movies of that year. Correct. And then they're going to be mortified and horrified. If you had a stat, a way of measuring at what point people stop listening to the podcast episode, I would love to know what happens with this episode.
In. Yes. But here's the thing. You probably should front load the episode with this. I've already covered The Incredibles. I've already covered Spider-Man 2. I've already covered Harry Potter and Shrek 2. Right. So it wasn't just as a fuck you to the audience. It was 4 of the 5 films I've covered at length before. And they've all 4 of them have been up for potential inclusion and didn't make it in. So it didn't seem fair to have an episode where the only movie we could choose for the vault is The Passion of the Christ, especially if I had a guest who didn't like that movie or found it offensive. And on top of that, we did the same thing when we got to Schindler's List, where it's like, let's not play this game of with a movie that is potentially representative of, in some people's mind, anti-Semitism, in other people's mind, the crucifixion of their Lord and Savior, right? So it just didn't really seem like a fitting movie.
No, 100% agree.
For this style
in today's political climate.
Yes. So then it was like, well, then we don't have an episode, and I don't want to just repeat myself. And that's when it occurred to me that could then be the time that I finally punish you for what you did to the vault.
Bonus Ghoulies, a bonus spectacular episode which you didn't know was coming.
This is main.
So now, because we have it determined what's coming for the next spectacular, and it's actually a good one.
No, we have. No, we know.
Yeah.
They voted.
Yeah.
You want to announce it now?
Final Destination.
It's Final Destination. Yes. Yeah.
So if I'm going to promise you this, if you're a fan of that series, do tune in, because I'm not going to slate that one. I like that series. I really enjoy it. Jason might.
I'm going to slate that fucker. Every one of them.
There you go.
Every one of them. No, I actually like the Final Destination movies. Not all of them, and not all of them equally, but I like.
Yeah, not all of them as good as each other, but
yeah. So, and it very well may be our Final Destination, Paul. May very well be. Paul and Jason's Final Destination Spooktacular, coming your way fall of 2024.
Let's party!
All right, Paul, it's time for a recap. Coming in dead last is the film I'm nominating for the Anti-Vault, which is Ghoulies 4, which I give a 0 out of 10. Coming in at number 3 is Ghoulies 2. Well, fuck. Coming in number...
It's only 4 films.
Number 3 is the first Ghoulies, which I give a 2 out of 10. Coming number 2 is Ghoulies 2, which I give a 3 out of 10. And coming in at number 1 is Ghoulies 3, Ghoulies Go to College, which
Ridiculous.
I give a 4 out of 10.
So Jason obviously got hit on the head at some point in the last 24 hours. Please ensure you seek medical attention forthwith. I have at number 4 coming in dead last, and with a very generous 0.2 out of 10, a film which should be in the anti-vault, one of the worst films of all time, Ghoulies Go to fucking College. At number 3, the original Ghoulies, 1.8 out of 10.
Yeah.
Pains me to do this, but I won't game the system just in case Jason has another out-of-body experience when I do. Ghoulies 4 is the second best film of the week, deserves to be nowhere near the anti-vault, 3.8 out of 10. And the best film of the week, Ghoulies 2, 4 out of 10.
Don't miss Paul for his triumphant return to Binge Movies when he talks about the Scanner Cop series coming in the not too distant future. All right, Paul, we know you. We love you. Will you stick around for 5 extra minutes in our overrun for our patrons? Tell us a movie you'd recommend, which is normally off of this list, but I don't think we're going to be able to find something. So we'll talk about something else. Countdown PC on social media. Countdown Podcast if it's not the Countdown PC. Countdown Podcast Instagram.
CountdownPodcast.com. That'll do.
On Letterboxd. Go to the Countdown Podcast or CountdownPC.com. Is that what it is?
CountdownPodcast.com.
CountdownPodcast.com to see all the stuff that they're doing. They do movie reviews for new releases. They sometimes talk about TV. And they do Last 10, Worst 10. What's it called?
Top 10, Last 10.
Top 10, Last 10. They have lists of things ranked in order of awesomeness. And they dive into humiliating and embarrassing stories. It's Paul and his best friend of over 30 years. They met in their 30s in graduate school. And for 30 years, they've been best friends. Well in their 60s. They stay very active for men of their age.
That's right.
It is the Countdown.
Looking good for being 69, MI.
All right, until next time, binge on.